Perfect. Okay. All right. So, welcome to all who are thinking about renewing their lease agreement to live on campus for yet another year. Um, First, we're going to start by introducing ourselves here, who are attending and being on the Housing 101 session for you here today. I'll start. So, my name is Taylor Brewer. I'm the leasing professional for Scott Campus Housing. And basically, what I do is I oversee the leasing process down here for Scott. So once you apply for UNO housing, if you get assigned Scott Campus, then I am your person that'll help you out through the lease agreement signing and then basically getting you to reserve your space in on-campus housing. Sarah, if you want to go.
Yeah, hi, my name is Sarah. I am the resident services manager on Scott Campus. So I handle work orders, event planning, kind of helping out residents once they're on campus.
Hi, my name's Demaya Valdivia. I'm the Housing Operations Coordinator for Dodge Campus. So I correspond with students through our email and our phone numbers. I also oversee the applications that are submitted, and I send contracts for Dodge Campus as well as help with the roommate assignments and room assignments.
Cool. All right. So just before we get started, just a quick note here. While we're going through the slides and everything, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, you can feel free to put them in the chat and all of that good stuff. But just so you know, we will be kind of holding a Q&A section at the end where we'll be kind of answering all of those questions. So if you just hold on to those questions until the end, then we'll get going. All right. Okay, so if you decide to live on campus yet again, we want to make sure that you're first aware of all of your options. So before you go through our renewal process, we want to make sure that you're well aware of those and you're actually thinking about those because that's how you'll inform our office. So we want to kind of review all of those with you just so you're aware of all of your options here for housing. So the first one is renew your contract lease in the same room. So you have the ability to keep your same room, your same placement, and all of that good stuff. The second option is to renew your contract lease in the same residence hall. So if you want a different room, you want to be in a different unit, that is also an option that is given to you as well. The third option is to renew your contract lease on the same campus. So if you know you want to live on Dodge campus you're in University Village right now, but you want to move to Maverick Village, you also get that option too. The fourth option is you realize you want to switch from campus to campus. So if you want to go from Dodge to Scott or vice versa, you also have that option too. And the fifth option, maybe on-campus housing isn't for you anymore. There's also the option that you can move off campus. So be really thinking about those and just what you're kind of considering for your housing next year, and that'll help you through the renewal process even more. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to hand it off to Demaya here, and she's going to give the specific renewal process for Dodge campus residents.
You go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good. Okay, so if you have completed your intent to renew form but have not been offered a contract yet, just hold tight. Those are going to be sent around January. Make sure you double check the email that you provided in the form to receive that information. And then make sure you note that our intent to renew form for Dodge campus closes on January 31st. So make sure you have that noted so you can remember that date. If you have any other concerns, make sure you email us at unohousing@unomaha.edu. And make sure to include your NUID so we make sure we're looking up the correct person when you email us. And then a little bit more information. So the renewal form has already been sent out to students for Dodge campus. That was sent on November 22nd. We will send that form again sometime next week. So if you missed the first one, just be looking out next week for another email with more information. We send the offered contracts to your personal and UNO email, so we try to reach you more than one way. You will be given a 2-week time frame to sign your contract, so be mindful of when that contract is sent to you and when you need to return that by. You must go back into the housing application to complete your offered contract. So you don't need to go in and reapply for housing, but you will need to go into that same portal to accept your offered contract. Be mindful that if you're under 18, you will need to put in a proxy, put in their information for a parent or guardian before you can move on to the next step. So we really can't move you forward if you are under 18 and don't do that step. So make sure you do that. That's very important. There's also a $50 activity fee that needs to be paid before your application, or sorry, your contract is considered complete. So if you sign the contract, your proxy signs, all that good stuff, but you don't have the activity fees paid, then your contract is considered not complete. So make sure you go and do that last and final step.
All right. So, yet again, since we are different campuses, we do follow some different processes. So now I'm going to touch on what is required for our Scott campus residents here. So on Scott campus, it's going to be a little bit different. We are asking that every single resident who currently lives on property completes that renewal interest form. This form was actually sent out to every current resident through their email, starting on December 1st. We've also been sending out reminder emails every Friday with that link to the form, just reminding current residents to submit that. So the reason why that we're asking all the residents to fill out the form is to ensure that our current residents who live on campus are well taken care of. And we also want to make sure that they're given the opportunity to receive their preferred housing type before we open our doors to those new applicants that are coming in. So with that, sending out that form and all of that stuff, the deadline to submit and receive renewal housing priority for Scott campus is going to be February 11th, 2024. So after that deadline, you can receive a lease agreement and everything like that. However, that's kind of when our doors are open to those new applicants, and then housing turns into on an availability basis, and it's basically a first come, first serve basis. So I actually put a QR code of actually our renewal interest form there. So if you haven't filled it out already and you're here on this presentation, that's great. I have it up there in case you want to fill it out now. And basically on that form, really there's going to be 3 options on there that you can pick. You're just informing us of those plans. So basically it's a yes, I plan to renew. I'm definitely coming back. There's a maybe, so I'm unsure of my plans, but I'm interested in returning. And then also there's that third option where it's saying you're letting us know, hey, I do not plan on renewing my lease for next year. All right, so once a student has filled out their renewal interest form, they will then be sent a lease agreement for the upcoming year based on their housing preference that's noted on the form. So these renewal leases are planning to be sent out here soon. I haven't sent any quite out yet, but we're planning on mid-December. So basically, it'll be that same exact lease signing process you did when you first arrived on Scott campus, which is a lease link sent to you by our e-signing partner, Blue Ink. It's going to be sent, there's 2 sides that'll need to be completed. One is the tenant, which is going to be the student side, and then the other is the guarantor, which is typically a parent, a guardian, a partner, and more. So with those, I want to remind you that both sections of those, the tenant and the guarantor, need to be completed in order to fully reserve your space on Scott campus. So another thing, we ask that once students receive that lease, that it is completed within the 2-week signing deadline. Our office will send out reminder emails to both the tenant and the guarantor to ensure that they're well informed of kind of these deadlines and everything like that. But housing has been considerable, so we do kind of typically give that 2-week time frame. You can contact our office if you need more time than that or anything like that. And the more communication that you give us, the better that we'll be able to help you out there. All right. So this is for if you don't see a contract quite yet. So this is basically saying, hey, I filled out the renewal interest form, but I'm kind of getting nervous because I haven't received a lease quite yet. So as of today, which is December 12th, no lease agreement for the upcoming year has been sent out from Scott campus quite yet. However, you can be expecting them to be within your email within the next week or so. Another thing to check, if it's still been like next week and you're kind of getting a little nervous, you haven't received anything from us, another tip that I always recommend is to check your spam and junk emails. Some people find them in there since we do kind of partner with another company just to do our lease signing process. So that's always a good thing to kind of check for. If you still cannot find your lease, or if you have any concerns about maybe the lease that you're sent or anything like that, we want to make sure that we're getting the good guidance towards you and making sure you get the housing preference that you want. And so if you have any other concerns with that, there's our email right there. It's that leasing@scottcampus.com. Shoot us a message and then we'll be able to help you out. One thing that we will need in that email is your NUID, your name, and kind of what you're emailing about there. So cool. All right, so now that we've gone over the specific processes for each of our separate campuses, now we want to make sure that you're aware of like the general renewal information that applies to any individual living on campus housing in UNO. So let's see. Okay, so some important things to keep in mind about our renewal processes are the first thing is submitting the intent to renew or the renewal interest form does not mean that you have officially reserved your space in on-campus housing for next year. This step, filling out that form, is only the first step. To reserve, like to officially reserve your placement, you must sign and complete that lease agreement sent to you. That's what legally binds you to that contract, okay? And then the second is you will not be required to submit a new UNO housing application if you're wanting to live on the same campus that you're currently living on. So with that, if you are a current Scott campus resident, if you want to live on Scott campus, it may be from Scott Court to Scott Crossing, right? You don't have to go onto your MavLink account and reapply. If you're staying on that campus, basically what'll happen is you won't be required to pay another $260 fee. And basically what happens with that is your security deposit in your application that you did when you first arrived for on-campus housing will automatically roll over for the next year. So yeah.
For bringing it up. I appreciate it tremendously.
Right. And then, so another thing, right? We say, you know, hey, you're not required to reapply on your MavLink account if you want to stay in the same campus that you're at. However, if you're wanting to switch campuses, then we do ask that you go and onto your MavLink account. You go in the admissions tab and you submit another UNO housing application for next year. And so there's two different applications that you can apply for on your MavLink account. There's the fall spring or the full year. So fall spring would just be, hey, I'm interested in academic, just the fall and the spring terms. The full year is I'm interested in living fall, spring, and summer for housing next year. And another thing, if you're moving off campus, basically there's no other step that you have to complete. With Scott Campus, we'll ask you to fill out that renewal interest form and let us know you're not interested in coming back. But after that, then you're good to go. You'll follow your lease terms and then you'll move out and then continue on. So, yeah. All right. So in the event that you complete the renewal forms and everything like that, maybe you put yes or maybe and you got sent a lease agreement or something like that, and you've realized, hey, my opportunities have changed, my plans have changed. Now I'm no longer interested in living on campus anymore for next year. So how do I go about that? So the first thing that you'll want to do here is you're going to email unohousing@unomaha.edu. We don't take any cancellations over the phone. We don't also take any cancellations from a guarantor or anything like that. It has to be from the student and from the leaseholder themselves. So the student has to email in and we ask that they include their NUID, also their full name, and then also their intent to cancel their contract for next year. And so with that, just make sure you're informing our UNO housing office and we'll kind of get you through the exact steps of that. We'll kind of go with you with the next steps. But if there's a note here that says if you have signed the contract, so if you and your guarantor have successfully completed that lease agreement, that means you've reserved your space in on-campus housing. So with that, once you complete that lease agreement, then you would be required to adhere to our UNO housing and residence life cancellation policies. So when you cancel, it basically depends on the date, but we do have different cancellation policies in place. So if you know you've signed that contract and you're interested in canceling that lease, there's different deadlines that you can do, but if you cancel by April 30th, what you'll do is you'll forfeit that $200 security deposit that you paid when you first applied for UNO housing. If you cancel from May 1st to July 31st, then we get into where you forfeit the $200 security deposit, and then you are also required to pay a $750 cancellation fee. So those are the kind of penalties with that canceling. So if you're really kind of on the fence, you're not quite sure, if you want to live on campus for next year, I always recommend that you receive a lease and everything like that. Let us know you're maybe interested. However, just a reminder that signing and fully completing that lease does reserve your space, and you will be required to adhere to those cancellation policies. So that's something important to note there. So yeah. All right. Demaya, do you want to go over this one? Oh, just kidding. That's me. I'm sorry. My
No,
goodness. We're having a night. There you go. Okay, so some reminders with that. So if you're considering coming back for living on campus next year, we just wanted to remind you that there are some requirements to kind of living in on-campus housing. So one of the policies here for living on campus is that you must be enrolled in 12 credit hours, which means you must be a full-time student here at UNO. So that would qualify you for on-campus housing. Another thing is we have a lot of people, especially during this time, maybe they've made friends over this past year and everything that they want to live together with. So if you're considering and you have a friend that you're interested in living with, you have to hold the same contract type with the friend to live together. So that's something really important. That's what I've been getting questions about at our leasing office. I'm sure you have too, Demaya. But when you basically go through that renewal process, you want to make sure that you're communicating with your friends. Hey, what lease type did you get? I got this one. Okay, we're going to make sure that we're in the same one. If you guys are not in the same lease type, so if one of you is in Dodge campus and one of you is on a Scott campus lease, we're going to be unable to kind of house you guys together, and you'll be unable to match on our room sync application, which I'll talk about in a second. But another reminder, if you are interested in kind of getting more involved on campus, we do offer those living learning communities and then also our themed housing. So some living learning communities we have are our honors program that are housed in Maverick Village. We also have the Thompson Learning Community on Dodge. We have the Walter Scott Jr. Scholars. We have the Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy. We have the Peter Kiewit Engineering Academy, and then we also have the CBA Scholars programs. So that's just to name a few. Those are all scholarship-based housing, but if that's something you're interested in, they also offer living on campus housing together. So also with some themed housing, it's not basically required through scholarship. So it's open for any UNO student that kind of is interested in housing. So some of those themed housings we have are Indigenous students, Greek life, sustainability, and wellness. So if you're ever interested in those, feel free to contact us and we'll kind of connect you with the right resources to get through with those. Another thing that we kind of wanted to highlight. So basically we have ZME versus RoomSync up here. So ZME was actually an application that UNO admissions recently sent out, and is basically allowing current students to kind of meet with other individuals who are living at UNO. So we want to let you know that ZME can absolutely help you find people you may want to room with and everything like that and meet on campus. However, it should not be utilized as the roommate matching application that our housing office uses. So we actually use RoomSync, which will be sent out after you've signed a lease in a certain spot. So it's great that you want to get to know people and everything like that, but ZME does not lock you in with a roommate. That'll actually be done at a later date through our RoomSync app that UNO Housing sends out ourselves. Cool. All right, Demaya.
Okay, so yeah, what's next? So in late February, kind of like Taylor just mentioned, our room sync links to qualifying contracts will be sent out. So again, to be a qualifying contract, you need to make sure that it is signed. If you need a proxy, make sure that your proxy has signed and make sure you pay that activity fee. So you have 2 to 3 things to do before we send you that room sync link. And then on June 15th at midnight, that is when our room sync closes. So make sure you get your submissions turned in by June 15th at midnight if you are wanting to live with certain people on campus. And then we also have on the right our next Housing 101 sessions. So on January 24th, we will be doing this exact same presentation. And then on February 29th, anyone who is new to housing will be going over next steps for you. And then on March 20th, we will be going over housing roommate information. So if you're wanting to learn more about roommates and all that good stuff, March 20th would be a good session to come to. All right, so if anyone has questions, you can go ahead and insert that in the chat box. I think Sarah, if you want to check that to make sure we don't have any questions we don't answer, we'll make sure to get to you. But while we're waiting for questions, if you have any thing that you think of later, you can always email us at unohousing@unomaha.edu. We'll make sure to get you in contact with the right people if need be. Our main housing line is also on there as well if you want to give us a call. And then always feel free to come by campus and get a tour if you are wanting to see more of the residence halls.
Perfect. I had a question that was direct message to me. So basically they had a question. They're a current